Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So it is prediction time, Jay. We've talked about it. The big fight this weekend, David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. We're excited about it. We're also going to give our prediction for Jose Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo. So, of course, let's start with the co-main first. Jermall Charlo came in overweight, 3.4 pounds over. Definitely we had, and I would say we both had Jermall Charlo winning this fight. I believe we've said that in videos before. From my perspective, it does give me a bit of concern, the fact that Jermall Charlo did come in overweight. It would suggest that, honestly, when he said that he was just starting training camp the next day, that there may have been some legitimacy to that, and so that's concerning. Jose Benavidez, as a part of the weigh-in, when he commented on Jermall Charlo coming in overweight, he mentioned that he was a non-dedicated little bitch. Definitely, I'm not going to call him a little bitch or anything like that, because it takes a lot of guts to get in the ring. But certainly you have to question his dedication. When you combine that with the fact that he hasn't been in the ring for 2 years, when you combine that with the fact that a layoff like that is going to cause a level of just ring rust that, may be hard to overcome. I mean, the odds are definitely shifting more to this fight being a lot more even in my mind. So with that, I'm still going to go with Jermall Charlo. And the reason, why I'm going to go with Jermall Charlo is I believe that, regardless of what version of Jermall comes into the ring, I've seen Jose Benavidez in the ring with Danny Garcia. I've seen him in the ring with Terrence Crawford. Now, Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in the world, so I understand looking like that against Terrence Crawford, but Danny Garcia is not. Now, Jose Benavidez used the excuse of, he was still feeling like the weight was too low for him. He needed to come in at a higher weight, and 160 is perfect for him. I don't necessarily believe that that's the case. I just think that Danny Garcia was a superior fighter. And I believe that if you put Danny Garcia in the ring with Jermall Charlo, he'd get destroyed. I really do believe that. At least a version of Jermall Charlo that we saw before. So even if I take 80% of Jermall Charlo, and again, I'm not doing a triangle theory, but I'm just saying that I just think there's levels to it. I think Danny's too small. It's not so much about styles. I just think Danny's too small for Jermall. And I think Jose is going to ultimately be too small for Jermall as well. Jermall came in at 166. He's going to rehydrate up into at least the 170s, maybe mid to high 170s. And I think ultimately he's just going to be too much for Jose Benavidez. So, hey, what's your thoughts on that particular fight?
Yeah, in that fight there, it just depends on how far it goes. I think if it goes full distance, it goes beyond like round 7, 8. I think that benefits Benavidez because I think he may have a better gas tank right now because Jermall hasn't been in the ring in damn near 2.5, 3 years almost. Yeah. Also he's older. So with that being said, I think Jermall's gonna have to try to get Jose up out of there early. Put some damage to him so that way he can last longer. And Jermall can last longer. Jose will be out of there earlier. He got to get rid of his gas tank before Jose gets rid of his. So with this fight here, it's going to be, it's the unknown. We saw Jose in his last fight, and it wasn't against anyone that anyone knew, and he looked okay, but we know about how he looked against Danny, a smaller fighter and whatnot. With Danny being a smaller fighter, and he still pressed the issue on Jose, and he was able to hit Jose pretty much almost at will, it seemed like. And even Danny commented on it, talking about he thinks it's going to be easier for Maul because Jose's available to be hit. Now, that's why I say if Maul can jump on Jose early, I think he'll get Jose up out of there possibly early in the fight. If it goes beyond 8, I think it benefits Benavidez. On there, it's still hard for me to pick Benavidez just knowing how he looked against Danny Garcia, how he looked in his last fight, which was, I think, it was a 5th round knockout he got of a guy that no one knew of. I think that dude was like ranked maybe in the 40s or 50s, and it wasn't nothing spectacular in that fight. But Jose does seem hungry, so I do give him a puncher's chance. But I see Maul winning this fight here, probably by if he's on top of his P's and Q's, just leaning on him everything, probably by round 7. If not, it's going to be a struggle for Maul to win that UD.
So I'm going to go right back to you. David Benavidez versus Boo Boo Andrade. Thoughts?
Man, that seeing after seeing the weigh-in, Boo Boo looked like he's really ready. You just never know what you get from Boo Boo just because his personality. His personality is kind of quirky. But his style is kind of like his personality, is quirky as well. You don't know what you're going to get in there. It's awkward as hell in there. But David just seems also very focused. He seems like a more of a man on a mission. He didn't not once say that, well, we'll see how it goes or anything. He says he's been confident. Boo Boo, on the other hand, has been like, well, it's going to be a great fight, and new and still. But he's been kind of waffling between like, yeah, I'm going to go in and get my best. Like, it's not full confidence in him on this fight here. I give him credit for taking this fight because no one else wanted to fight David Benavidez and no one else wanted to fight Boo Boo Andrade. So I think overall, this fight here kind of mirrors a little bit like the Caleb Plant fight, except for Boo Boo's it's going to make it a little bit muddy. He's going to make it muddy early in the fight. He's going to have to, but I don't think he's going to be able to continue with that. So I see David just by attrition pounding him with punches and bunches. I think David he may stop Boo Boo probably by around like 9 or 10.
I've struggled with this fight. Initially I had David Benavidez being successful in his fight. Most people know that I'm a fan of David Benavidez, and I like his style. I like his approach. I like what he's bringing to the 168-pound division. But I've had this feeling, this looming feeling that Andrade is gonna be successful in this fight. And when I saw David Benavidez make the comment that he believed that Demetrius Andrade will be similar to Caleb Plant, I personally think that that's a huge mistake because I think Andrade is slicker, and I don't believe he needs to use movement constantly in order to be successful in a fight and to evade punches. I think he can do it from the pocket some. I think he can do it with movement. And because he can do it from the pocket and he can do it with movement, and I think he can also stand his ground at times, I don't think he's going to run out of gas. And so he looked big. He looked like he was the same size as David, maybe a half inch shorter. But weight-wise, he was 167.5, a little heavier than David. David's probably gonna rehydrate up to be heavier than him. But I just have this eerie feeling, man, that Andrade is gonna win this fight. Because I just think David's underestimating this guy's skill level, and I think he's gonna get surprised in there with what he's doing when he's not having to run, when he's actually staying in the pocket and avoiding some of those shots. And I think ultimately David's going to get frustrated by something. Not that he might get knocked out, but he certainly could run into something and get hurt himself. So, dude, I'm going to go with Andrade. I may be wrong, Jay, but my gut.
I think you're wrong. I can see. I do see a way that Andrade can win. So I'm not saying it's just he has no chance in hell, but I just see David just overwhelming Andrade overall over the fight. I remember his last fight against the dude in January that Andrade fought. Andrade was fighting okay, and he got caught. And I was like, oh shoot! And he was like a little rocked a little bit. He got back on his P's and Q's with the fight, but I don't see him being able to beat David by catching David. I don't think he's going to knock David out. And I don't think he'll beat David by UD just because of how many punches that David throws. Mm-hmm. That's the key for me is seeing how Andrade, although he's slicker than Caleb, he's still a boxer. So we got to see how that style, who imposes their will. Is the slickness of Andrade going to be able to avoid those punches and bunches that David throws and make David pay? Or will David overwhelm him with those punches and bunches? That'll be the issue.
Yep. All right, man.
I'm sticking with David. You got Andrade by UD or
UD.
Or knockout?
I'm gonna pick him by UD, but I'm mostly picking him to win. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to this fight. What do you believe is going to happen? Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are